Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, the Bundesliga podcast covering everything that there is in the English language about Eintracht Frankfurt, our favorite club in the Bundesliga, our favorite club in Germany. Note we didn't say greatest. We'll talk about that later on. Garrett here in Metro Detroit, Warren to be exact, filling in today for Chris, who's unable to make it tonight. All the best to Chris and the family. Enjoying. I know he had a very enjoyable weekend, hockey-wise with his alma mater in Michigan State, and amongst some other things. And I'm not going alone tonight. I have the absolute pleasure. Many were introduced to him last week on the podcast, telling his story in Frankfurt, and back again to deliver his insight on the week that was and what's to become for Frankfurt. John from Delaware. John, how are you this evening?
Pretty good, Garrett. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. I think despite anything that football is throwing at me right now, I can say life is pretty well. We've had a good amount of sporting events and a good amount of discussion, things to talk about. One thing before we get into the week that was in segment one, I want to kind of promote anyone that's listening to this podcast today to just about our Discord, our active, very active Discord channel at Hey Eintracht Frankfurt Podcast, where we talk about not only all things Eintracht Frankfurt, but football, music, sports outside of it. John, how much time do we spend talking about hockey in that group?
Oh, we spend quite a bit of time in there, don't we?
Oh yeah.
I think this past weekend there was arguably just as much hockey talk as football talk in there.
Yeah. We have quite a bit of people all over the place with devotion for their local hockey teams like we all have for Frankfurt. And, it gets into, fun discussion that, maybe a slight bit of banter involved, but nothing too over the top where, people want to throw rage in that. Highly check it out. Chris has got a link up on on our website, as well as, we'll promote it out in our social activities, but highly recommend it. It's, a great way to, meet people and discuss all things Frankfurt and outside of it. So, with that plug, let's get into, we'll start out with the week that was, for Eintracht Frankfurt. And we're going to start off with last Thursday, the 8th of February, the DFB Pokal, round of 16, the Frauen, had a chance, was supposed to play it on the 22nd of January. That got postponed due to weather conditions. So finally went at it, took on Freiburg, a match that sees the Adler coming up 2-0 winners. Shakira Martinez opened things up in the 25th minute. Verena Hanshaw made it 2-0 in the 52nd minute before Freiburg made it interesting with a goal in the 87th minute by Samantha Steuerwald. But the Adler held on, got the win. They made it now to the quarterfinal. John, I believe their next match is in next month against Duisburg. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
So, the job was to go on, get the win, advance. Well done to the Adler. John, why don't you give us your thoughts on what you saw during the match? Did it go the way you thought it was going to? Better, worse? How are you feeling after that?
I felt pretty good after the match. I expected us to be the better team in that game, and I think we were by a little bit. We definitely let Freiburg have a good amount of chances, especially late into the game, and obviously they got the one back, thankfully not getting a second. I got to say, though, that our team looked so good going forward in that game. I thought one player who really impressed me the whole time was Verena Hanshaw, and I'm glad she was able to get a goal out of that because she was just firing on offense the whole time. Had a couple of little mix-ups on defense, but that's all right.
I think the one thing that I'm really getting used to when I'm seeing Hanshaw play is how much he is involved in how this team delivers offensively from a fullback position, and not just in open play, but also when you watch a game and you see how much of corners is being taken by her, or sometimes set piece delivery. Just somebody who seems to be, for as much as we talk about Lara Freigang and Yomi Prajnikar Dunst, Hanshaw is also, I feel like, a key part of that. I think that second goal, I agree with you, shows you like just how vital she is when we're clicking fully.
Yeah, and her shot to get the corner before she got that goal was, what a hit. Incredible save from the Freiburg goalkeeper before that, and then very nice hit as well on her goal. I thought Shakira Martinez also looked really good in this game, and I'm hoping that she continues to show that in the minutes given, because I think she's always deserving of so much more playing time, and I'm glad she got that in this game.
Agreed, and I think she's been also in a really good run of form lately. If maybe there's one thing about not moving on to the next stage of in the Champions League, was that she was able to get a lot of minutes in that game versus Rosengard, and I think really make a presence felt. And I think that run of form has continued onwards. So I think it's really promising to see. How are you feeling? We got a month then before our next match in the Pokal in the quarterfinal, and obviously we'll know more about how the squad is doing when we get to that point. But based off of what you were seeing with the rest of the draws, how are you feeling as far as the potential for like a Pokal triumph, or getting as deep as possible in that competition?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have arguably the best draw for the next round. I mean, I guess Bayern, assuming they beat Offenbach, which I imagine they will, they'll get Karl Zeiss Jena, who are second tier. But other than that, I mean, Duisburg has not been good at all this year. So I would hope that we would have a very good performance against them in March. And then the other draws there are Hoffenheim and Wolfsburg, and then Leverkusen against Essen. So you already know with those games that you're going to lose two pretty decent sides. So I think, there's a lot of potential there for us in the Pokal this year. And I think that the team is playing very well to start the year. I think we can definitely make a deep run.
I'm feeling that. I'm hoping that way too. I feel like when this team is on, they can hang with anyone. We've kind of seen it as an extent when we've put the two times we played Barcelona. Even though we fell short, we made them work for everything. And even in our matches against the big in Germany, the Bayern, and even the one that we'll talk about later on this past weekend. Moving on now to the men. Saturday, Dino Topmuller and the lads went back to the Waldstadion and took on VfL Bochum, a team that's been a bit of a difficult one for us to get over the last few seasons since Bochum has been promoted back to the Bundesliga. Only one win against them in going on its sixth try. An old friend in Gonzalo Paciencia coming back home. I think I saw something where him and Timmy Chandler had a nice embrace pre-match. So
yeah, they did. That was always good to see.
Yeah, so that was very heartwarming. Frankfurt rolling out in a 4-3-3 shape. Sasa Kalajdzic unable to play due to the birth of a child. Congratulations to Sasa and all the best to the family with that going on. And then a unplanned setback during the warm-ups before kickoff, and that was Kevin Trapp with a flare-up. Meant Jens Grau filled the role in the keeper. So the starting lineup, Grau in goal, Buta, Koch, Pacho, Philip Max filling in for Niels and Kuku, who was out due to the double yellow-red the previous weekend against Köln. Eliskiri, Mario Götze, Hugo Larsson, although Larsson had been subbed off in the 21st minute for Donny van de Beek. And then the front three of Ansgar Knopf, Omar Marmoush, and Faris Chaibi. Bochum rolled out in what looked like a 4-4, like a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-4-2 diamond. And kind of a back and forth. All the goals in this match came within the first 20 minutes. Chaibi to Marmoush in the 14th minute, 1-0 to Frankfurt. However, Brzezinski for Bochum off of a unfortunate Pacho deflection. 1-1 from there. Chances both ways, especially on the Frankfurt end when Hugo Ekitike came on in the 64th minute. But unfortunately, once again, for the third straight time in this between these two teams, 1-1 the final. When we did our first corner to the Adler on the socials, it seemed like we had some discussions on that match could have been a loss for us. Could have been, some were saying it could have been a win. John, how are you feeling after that? What would you think are some of the things you liked from that match? Some things that you didn't like? And end of the day, do you feel 1 point gained or 2 points dropped?
Oh man, I feel like at the end of the day, while I was really hoping that we could get a second, and we looked like we could, we easily could have also given up a goal to them. I think that a draw is a pretty fair result from that game. I really liked Marmoush and Chaibi. It's amazing having both of them back now because they really make our offense happen.
Yeah, agreed.
And especially with no Kalajic today, we needed someone up front, and Marmoush was able to do that and provide the goal. Unfortunately, somewhat injuring himself in the process, but right. Obviously he was able to carry on for a while. I didn't like our shape, but that was pretty much a forced change because of the red cards to Tuta and Nkunku. I think it kind of had Pacho and Coke not really playing, comfortably, and they were able to get in behind us a lot, especially Takuma Asano. He really put a lot of work in against Coke and Buta on that left side, or our right side. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay game. There were some good chances, and especially after Ekitike came on, I thought he looked very, very good. Really should have taken the shot rather than pass to Chaibi in that one instance. But and it was good that he was able to play for 30 minutes just about, when there were obviously the reports coming out this week that they were worried that he'd only be able to play 15 minutes max for the next few weeks.
One thing I've noticed really, and I think it's something that I've been seeing, I feel like in bits earlier on in the year, and then been seeing it again a little bit, is when we move the ball from defense to midfield, it seems to be doing at a relative decently tempo. But when we're getting into the final third, it just seems like we lose a little bit of that edge and that ability. By the time we figure something out, our opposition has usually gotten themselves in place and ready to go to quickly deal it. Although I feel like we started to see some with Ekitike coming on, opening up. Am I just being a little bit too harsh on that, you think? Or do you feel like that there's something that needs to be addressed, especially ahead of this, the matches we have Thursday and Sunday?
No, I agree 100%. We need to be quicker in moving the ball forward. I think part of that is, how our midfield passes to our attackers. A lot of the times the ball is just right to the feet of them or a little bit behind. And so some of our attackers have to, restart their runs almost, and it really slows down their pace. And you saw when on the goal this match, when Götze put in the ball for Chaibi, it was in front of him, let him run into it, and he was able to play a perfect crossover to Marmoush. So, more of that is something that we need to see rather than just kind of not fully completed passes and all. It's really stunted our movement going forward.
Agreed. And I'll give credit also to Jens Grau for filling in how he did. Late in that game, it seemed like Bochum were able to make those passes in stride a bit more. I still don't know how. Was it Asano that had the wide open net and skied it?
I don't remember it.
But
at this point,
I feel like Anish Stoger had a chance. There were plenty of moments where you could forgive Grawl if he's just a little bit off, just because he had to come into this match, probably knowing he wasn't going to play. So he stepped in and made saves. It was all great. We had reports of scans and everything afterwards. Marmoush got scanned because when Marmoush scored, unfortunately, he collided in with the post. Marmoush, Trepp, and Larson got checked out. John, what were just so I'm trying to remember, what were the diagnoses for each of them?
I think everyone is good to go except for Larson. I think the reports were that he's going to be out for the next 3 weeks with an injury. I didn't see what exactly it was, but yeah, he's out, but everyone else looks okay.
So I think now with the Conference League ahead on Thursday and then the Bundesliga, so we have at least 2 Thursday Sundays. We're going to be seeing a lot of ins and outs and probably the reasons why there were the people made, even though this was probably not planned for the Larson injury, of who are like the people playing in Conference League and those that could be filling in on the weekend. We hope well for Larson that, it is as quick of a recovery as possible. Happy to see Donnie get in and get the minutes. I think he looked definitely a lot better than I think he did against Mainz. I think if he can get a consistent run of minutes and he gets something, a goal or an assist, I think he just needs that one little confidence boost that he probably, to be honest with you, hasn't had since maybe Ajax on 4 years ago. And I think when you look at a player and I think that we don't talk about the mental as much. John, how are you feeling on that?
I completely agree. I think obviously he had a semi-successful loan spell at Everton 2 years ago, but other than that, it's really been nothing there for him. And I thought today he played okay in the minutes that were given. He had a couple opportunities in the box, and obviously being as rusty as he is, didn't really make the most of them. But I think definitely an improvement on where it was. Now, obviously, I think something will be said about him getting subbed on and then also subbed off. But I think that was just because Dino wanted to put Rhoda in for those last 5 minutes, because at that point, we were just letting Bochum completely besiege us, in those last 10 minutes. So I wouldn't read too much into that personally.
Right. I think it's one thing if he would have been subbed off when Ekitike came on, with plenty of time to go. But it's, when you hadn't played in a couple weeks, you got the plan for Sunday. You can start thinking about that and going from there. We'll go around the Bundesliga at the start of segment 2, but with this draw, just a brief highlight. The 8th draw this season for Frankfurt out of 21 matches played in the Bundesliga. And it's that old adage, as frustrating as this has been for us this year, the Adler are still in 6th place with a 4-point gap over the team that they are going to be playing on Sunday, which we'll highlight, and 5 points behind of RB Leipzig, who are in 5th. So it's kind of those moments of like, it could be so much better, but yet it could be so much worse, I suppose. We'll cover around the Bundesliga and start of segment 2. It was definitely an eventful weekend in the league, to say the least, to kind of give a little tease. But also eventful was the matchup yesterday. What was it, 8 a.m. Eastern yesterday? 8
a.m.
I slept in for this one. which, I wanted to get up live for it, but my body's like, no, you need the rest. And I'm kind of glad that it was VfL Wolfsburg, Eintracht Frankfurt 2 taking on 3. The last defeat for Eintracht Frankfurt in the Frauen Bundesliga came in week 2 against VfL Wolfsburg, 2-4 setback at home. And, it's one of those things where you look at the scoreline like I did when I woke up and saw that it was VfL Wolfsburg 3, Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen 0, and you're like, damn. However, you start to take a look at the game. And then I checked out the highlight. I had the Super Bowl on my Chromebook, and I kept the main TV on for EA Sports FC, and I'm checking out stuff on YouTube. And I checked out highlights of this game. And John, I'll get your thoughts on it first. But I feel like that the scoreline at the end of the day doesn't really give this match justice. 0-0 until the 57th minute. There was, for those that haven't seen it, a ball that went into the box. Stino Johannes had hands on it. There was a little bit of a collision with a Wolfsburg player, and then a collision in with Volter, which then the ball came loose from her hands and into the net. The goal stood. Still a plenty open game at that point, chances on, especially coming from Frankfurt. However, Wolfsburg get the second in the 86th minute, Elena Latvine and Vivian Endemann in the 93rd, making it 3-0. A tough day, but John, how do you feel? Do you feel like still, despite the result, there were some, what positives would you say you saw from this match?
Oh, there were so many positives. I mean, I think that you could really make an argument that we were the better team in the first half. Not by much, but we had the front three were absolutely buzzing. Prashnikar and Yomi Freigang. They looked so good. And Yomi / Prashnikar, they were kind of together very early in the game and nearly probably should have had a goal to open up the game. But it was a really positive game. Obviously, their first goal is pretty controversial. There was definitely some contact, so I'm torn on whether that's a foul or not. But after that goal, I thought we did a pretty good job of keeping the foot on the gas. And then we kind of, I think, tired out a little bit, and I think we really could have used some subs a little bit earlier. Shakira Martinez was the first one in the 79th, and then Romina Chiba in the 85th. I think we could have used them a little bit earlier to try and keep pushing harder. As soon as Latvine scored their second goal, it was pretty much over, though.
Right. And I think the one thing that I'm going to take note of in particular when I was watching the highlights, and I will say from the highlight video, and it was not like a 3-minute video, it was because DAZN didn't have a full highlight video from them. They had the whole match, but it was I'm trying to think. It was a German channel because it was definitely a German feed. That was doing the commentary. It was about 6-7 minutes, and there was definitely more than 50%, maybe 60% of it was Frankfurt Frauen shots at the goal. If anything, I can say that we had chances before the Wolfsburg goal to make it 1-0. We had chances to equalize it. And it's that little thing that I kind of talked about, I think, when I thought about our Champions League, is when you don't convert, if at least one of those chances in that situation, you open the door for some weird shit to happen. Yep. And unfortunately, in this case, I agree with the contact from the Wolfsburg player. I think it was the Volter contact that really did the damage on that.
I think it was, the contact from Latvine kind of turned Johannes, and then Johannes's arms went into Volter, and that's what caused the ball to come out and land in the net. And so, I can see why it wasn't given as a foul. And especially from the referee's point of view, it probably looked like it was mostly just contact with Volter. Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks that was the first goal in that match. Mm-hmm. I'll give credit to Nico being fired up enough to get a yellow, but then not going completely off the lid, because I mean, we've seen that often lately. I mean, take a look at Union's coach being out for 3 games and the men's Bundesliga for not just losing his shit with a ref, but didn't he laying hands on Leroy Sané? Although we saw Sané ticked off later on. Another tease. But I think they had chances. Martinez had a couple moments when she came on, but yeah, Lottline with a great strike to 2-0, and then Endemann sees it off. So, end of that match day, 13 sees, top 3 are still the same. Bayern at 33 points, 10 wins, 3 draws. VfL Wolfsburg in second, 10 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss at 32 points. Die Adler in third, 8 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, 26 points. Not a completely bad weekend when you look at Frauen Bundesliga as a whole, with going over just a brief recap of the other matches that took place. Hoffenheim not able to catch ground, a 1-1 draw against Werder Bremen. Bayern with a 5-0 win in Köln. Freiburg, Duisburg, 1-1 draw, and earlier today, Nuremberg won Bayer Leverkusen 2. So, there's a 5-point difference between third and fourth with Frankfurt and Hoffenheim. Werder Bremen is now tied with Bayer Leverkusen with 20 points. Bremen have the better goal difference, so they're in fifth. Leverkusen in sixth with 20. Essen and Freiburg. Essen was seventh place with 18 points. Freiburg, 16 points, in eighth. Köln and Leipzig tied at, with 10 points. Nuremberg and Duisburg in the bottom 2 relegation. Nuremberg with 8 points, Duisburg only with 3. So, it's a little bit difficult for the Frauen to catch up to potentially the top 2, although we did not know what to expect when they started off the first 2 matches with losses, and then this was their first loss since match day 2. So, my thing out of that is anything could come from this final run. Let's see how they react to this, which we'll talk about their match at Leipzig this weekend. But first, time for I dropped this in Discord. You love this. Chris fucking hates it. Fucked up stat time. Yesterday's 3-0 loss in Wolfsburg was the second time on second Super Bowl Sunday in a row that a Frankfurt side has lost 3-0 on the road. Last year, the men lost 3-0 to Köln, which unfortunately we were reminded of that last weekend in a 2-0 loss. And yesterday, the Frauen 3-0 to Wolfsburg. And with that, we will sort of congratulate Brian on the Chiefs winning yet another Super Bowl. Here's hoping that the Lions are in New Orleans February 2025. With that said,
there you go.
Plenty of opportunities to transition to this next topic and plenty of moments for food and drink. And what are we drinking? So, John, whether it was this weekend or now, what were some of the foods and drinks that you imbibed in?
Oh yeah, right now I'm on the water currently because I had a bit too much this weekend. I had a lot of Guinness this weekend. Had a nice Stella at the Canucks Caps game yesterday, so that was pretty nice. My cousin made some meatballs for the Super Bowl party, so that was fun.
Nice. I'm also rocking the glass of water just because I cruised dinner. I am planning to have milk with ice cream after recorded. That's kind of my treat myself moment for this one. Yesterday was just, I had a Wendy's coupon, took advantage of that for the game, to sit at home and take it in. French vanillas with, Tim Horton and French vanillas on the weekend with Mom Saturday after the Canucks Red Wings game, which it was a fun game, at least on there. And it happens again Thursday. So for all the non-Canuck and Red Wing fans, check it out if you have ESPN Plus and you don't have a local area blackout, because that's some damn good hockey. That's all I'm going to tease for that one. But wherever you are, however you celebrated the Super Bowl, however you dealt with the sorrows that our dear Diagler gave us, here's to you. With that, we say Prost. And with that, we will take a break, and then we will be back with segment 2 of Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. And welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, Bundesliga podcast covering everything about Eintracht Frankfurt in the English language. Garrett here in Metro Detroit, John in Delaware. We've talked about the Frankfurt week that was both for the Frauen and the men. We talked about what took place in Frauen Bundesliga this past weekend. Let's now cover what happened around the Bundesliga on the men's side. And it turned out to be a very entertaining weekend. Started off Friday, Dortmund taking on Freiburg. Niklas Füllkrug celebrating his 31st birthday in style with a goal and 2 assists. The other 2 goals for Dortmund came from Daniel Mahlen, his 3rd brace of the year, and a 3-0 win over our next opponents. Augsburg and Leipzig, a match there that Demerich with a nice goal to make it pull it back level for Augsburg. Penta had a chance for a penalty late in the 81st minute, stopped. Honors even. Mönchengladbach and Darmstadt, although it was 3-3 in the first contest between them, this one was the only scoreless contest between both teams, 0-0. We already talked about Frankfurt Bochum. Union Berlin with a big 3 points, 1-0 against Wolfsburg, and I'm realizing that going back, there was 21 minutes of stoppage time in the first half, and the goal by Union was in the 25th minute. Oh, that was because of John, actually, I'll have you talk about that one. Heidenheim went into Bremen and ruined Werder's 125th anniversary celebrations with a 2-1 win on the road, though Bremen had chances. I think they hit bar and crossbar 3 times in that match. Stuttgart beat Mainz 3-1. Another great performance by them. Hoffenheim and Köln struggled out to a 1-1. Köln had it until the 94th minute when substitute Ahmed Kramer trebled it. And last but not least, the big matchup of the weekend, 1 versus 2, Leverkusen hosting Bayern Munich. And I'll tell you what, man, my thought on this, Leverkusen bitch smacked Bayern. 3-0, could have been worse. The only dominating performance in the Bayern side was what Leroy Sané did to the camera after Leverkusen made it 3-0. That camera had a family, damn it. So, John, give me your thoughts on the weekend that was, performances that surprised you, your takeaway on the big match, and also what took place at the Stadion à la Forsterei.
Well, I guess we can start out with what happened at Union Berlin. Obviously the DFL investment vote has drawn a lot of controversy, rightfully so, and protests continue throughout Germany. And on Friday, the DFL put out a statement basically saying after a number of teams had come out and demanded really a revote on it. A lot having to do with, Martin Kind and Hanover's vote, but also just the general disacknowledgement of the fans' opinion on this. But the DFL put out this statement saying that you guys clearly don't understand our plan. We're not going to do a revote, any of this kind of stuff. And a lot of fan groups of many clubs came out against that. And in the biggest show was what happened at Berlin. Fans threw tennis balls on the field constantly, and the match was delayed for well over 20 minutes. It's not surprising. Obviously Union Berlin has a very passionate fan base, but I guess the Wolfsburg fans were also involved in that as well, as the game, I believe, was stopped in stoppage time again. Lots of delays there. In terms of surprising for the weekend, I guess it shouldn't be super surprising given how Augsburg's been playing recently, but to draw against Leipzig is pretty impressive. And then, what Leverkusen did to Bayern was insane. They completely dominated that game. Bayern never looked like they were in it at all to me. That was such a dominant performance from Leverkusen, and I think it shows that they're well on their way to win the league, and very possibly they could be winning a treble this year.
I think the performance, and not only that too, the wild thing about that Leverkusen game performance is how many changes they made in that match. This was probably, never want to call this Xabi Alonso coach side a conservative style of play, but he definitely had some mindset of not full on guns blazing, Schick on the bench, Frimpong on the bench, Hoffman on the bench. He wanted to go with pace, I think more. Adili and Tella playing with Wirtz. Stanisic, of all people, on loan from Bayern, gets the opening goal.
Yeah.
Wide open space. I give him all the credit in the world. He really did not want to celebrate that goal and everything like that, but he knew there was a job to kind of be done. But they just, I think we're going to be talking about that Grimaldo as a free, Alejandro Grimaldo as a free, and just what he's doing. Week in and week out. And then, Frimpong's like, hey, showing like, hey, this is what I'm still going to give you something, even if you put me in as a sub. I think my shock is, I think that's not going to be the biggest thing for me. I think my biggest shock will be the Heidenheim win in Bremen. Just because this is a team that is performing their first ever time in the Bundesliga. And Frank Schmidt's got this team performing way above what anybody, I think, expected of them.
They're very close to us now after that win.
Yeah.
They're clearly a very solid mid-table side. And, it's insanely impressive what Frank Schmidt has gotten them doing. Yeah.
And I think that's, granted, Werder had chances to put that match away, or level it. I know even Rafa Borre, who I thought he had gone to Brazil, didn't realize he was still at Werder at the end of the season. Had a moment to level it. I did enjoy the celebrations that Werder did for their 125th anniversary, as well as their kits. I thought those were fresh. But
they were.
Again, that's the thing. It's like, and it's this thing with Heidenheim. Even they've shown it all season, even when we played them earlier in this year, that they don't go down easy in any game. So
no.
I think that's credit to Frank Schmidt. That's and to what they're building there. I am not looking forward to that match in 2 weekends' time, but we'll get there. But before we get, just to give kind of what the table's looking like, from bottom to top, Darmstadt bottom, level on points with Mainz, 12 points. Mainz has eight better goal difference. Köln's still in the playoff spot at 16 points. I think that late draw, I want to see how they react from it, because I think they had done everything that they could defensively and took their one chance, but you don't kill a game off. We talked about it with the Frauen for us. Kramer showed what happens. Union with that win now have a 5-point gap over Köln in 15th. Bochum and Gladbach at 22 points. Wolfsburg, Augsburg at 23 in 11th and 12th. Werder in 10th with 26. Heidenheim now level on points with Hoffenheim, but they're in 9th. Hoffenheim in 8th. Freiburg in 7th with 28. Frankfurt in 6th with 32. Leipzig 5th, 37. Dortmund 4th with 40. VfL Stuttgart 3rd with 43. I don't think they're letting that third spot go right now. We'll see what the final 13 weeks bring. Bayern in 2nd with 50, and Bayer Leverkusen first, 55 points, 21 played, 17 won, 4 drawn. No losses in any competitive fixtures yet this season. I don't know when that's going to happen, but from where they were when October of 22 after the 5-1 loss to us, to where they're at now is, I'm going to put most of that on Xabi Alonso and what he's done to that team. So we often do well when Leverkusen comes to the Waldstadion. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. We shall see. But that is it as far as what took place around the Bundesliga. And now, believe it or not, we're already back at that time Europa Conference League is back amongst us.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, we did not get the first spot of the group like we thought. We were not going to maybe waltz into, but find a way to get it done. PAOK were able to do that. So what that means is that the 8 second-place teams in the Europa Conference League take on the 8 third-place teams from the Europa League that came down to this level. And unfortunately, we have to deal with a team that is unbelievably hot in form. That being Union Saint-Gilles in Belgium. Gilles USG has the first home tie this Thursday, 12:45 Eastern. For those that may not be familiar about the Belgian league, and you'll be like, Garrett, why are you shitting a brick right now? Let me tell you why. 25 games played in the Belgian First Division A. Union Saint-Gilles in first place with 59 points, 8 points clear of powerhouse Anderlecht, 15 points clear of Club Brugge and Royal Antwerp, and 20 points clear of Cercle. Is it Circle or Cercle? Brugge.
To be honest, I'm not sure.
39, and Ghent at 39. What is incredibly wild when I was taking a look at the run of fixtures that USG has had, they got knocked out of their cup competition last Wednesday to Brugge.
But they haven't yet.
No,
it's actually a 2-leg.
It's a 2-leg.
Yep, it's a 2-leg. Is that the semifinals? Yeah. So they still get a second chance against Club Brugge.
But you want to know what the wild thing is? That is the fucked up fact. That was their first loss in all competitive fixtures since November 9th when they lost at Lask in Austria 3-0.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
John,
I don't think they've lost in the league since August.
That was a September 16th loss to Genk at home.
There it is.
And then, other than November, a 2-0 loss at Liverpool.
Yep.
John, am I overreacting when I am saying that we are the underdog in this tie right now?
I don't think so. I'm very scared for this matchup personally. They look so good. Their game against Club Brugge, they didn't necessarily play super well that game, but this team has been on fire this year. I mean, including their last match in the group stage of Europa League, beating Liverpool 2-0. Yeah, they're really, really good, and I think they're probably the favorites to win this tie.
Some key players to look at, in particular for their side here. Mohamed Amora, who's got 16 goals in the league, 2 assists. I'm trying to get some other names in here. Gustav Nilsson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 10 goals. Dennis Eckert, he's got 6. Cameron Puertas with 12 assists.
He's really good. Yeah.
And to kind of give you a mindset of some other players that you might have known in that came from USG, Dennis Undav, who went from USG to sister club Brighton and dear enemy of Crystal Palace, although they wrecked Palace's shit, unfortunately, last weekend. But Undav then came to Stuttgart. As you can see, he's playing his way into a spot on Germany's national side. So I think there's definitely some talent on that side. The approaches, and this isn't just a out of the blue nowhere, because USG had a good run last year, knocked out Union Berlin. In the play. Frankfurt have not had the most mind-blowing restart to the new year. In 5 games played in Bundesliga, 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. But there's something about those European nights that they
are magical
more often than not. And then sometimes we get some brutal reminders. Basel in 2020, although that was at the start of a pandemic, so that might have had something to do with that. But does it benefit us to start off this two-legged tie on the road as opposed to being at home?
I think so. Definitely USG's form at home is a bit better than their away form, and you saw that in their results in the group stage of Europa League. Losing to Linz away, but did they beat them or tie them at home? But anyway, losing to Liverpool on the road, beating them at home. They're. I think it's to our advantage because we'll kind of see. I think we'll see their best version on Thursday, and hopefully be able to adjust to that when we have the home match in the second leg.
The only thing that really hurt them, I think, at home was they drew at home to Toulouse.
Yep.
Because they didn't, and it's not to say they didn't do bad at Europa. That's the thing: 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. It's just Liverpool went 4-2, and Toulouse went 3-2-1. And unfortunately, Laska's only win in the Europa League was basically what separated USG from Toulouse.
Yep.
The roster is going to be not our full Bundesliga squad due to specific, rules requirements that UEFA has on there. John, who would you feel like are some names that we're really going to see in these 2 legs? Really probably be the ones, if we're going to see them in these couple matches, this would probably be the game to see them.
Well, I mean, definitely, I think we're going to see a lot of Sasha Kalajic in these games. I'm hoping that he plays with Marmoush. Obviously, if we just play Marmoush up top, that works for me too. But I think getting those 2 kind of in a rhythm, with Chaibi as well. Unfortunately, I guess we're not going to have Hugo Larsson in these games. So I would love to see Sebastian Rode play in both of these matches as much as he can. Obviously, he's just coming back from injury. But for some reason, especially in the European games, when he's playing, we just do so much better. And so I'm really hoping that he can really lead us. But although I would assume it'd probably be Gutsa and Skiri starting in the defensive midfield to start out with. And then, I don't know, I think it'll be interesting to see if now that Max is added to the roster, if he'll be playing on the left side or if it will be Nkunku. Obviously, I mean, Nkunku's had a really good start to the year, red card aside. And I thought Max played pretty decently against Bochum.
How do you see this game playing out scoreline going into the second leg next Thursday?
I think USG takes the first leg 2-1.
I'm not going to predict a win for us, just because I need to see more than what I've been seeing these last few weeks in Bundesliga play. I think we have enough in us to get a 1-1. If you get a draw or better, even a draw is a good result against a team that's in form like USG are. I am going to say, who gets the goal? Shit. Ellis Skiri, when he's scored, has scored in opportune moments and big moments for this club this season. I think this is a big moment where he gives us a chance ahead of leg 2 at the Waldstadion. That one will be the 22nd of February at 3 p.m. Eastern. Leg 1 is this Thursday, the 15th of February, 12:45 p.m. Eastern. You can find that on Paramount Plus. Whether you take a long lunch for that, whether you're on the West Coast and you have breakfast or brunch, or you're going to be a sicko like me and watch this at my desk with the sound on, even if people just know that, hey, okay, there's a football match on. Okay.
That's exactly how I'll be doing it.
Damn right. So, join us in our suffering one way or another. As the round of 16 starts back up. And because Europa Conference League is starting back up, that also means the Thursday, Sunday. Oh wait, I'm jumping a step. That we'll talk about the Sunday. But the next day, the Frauen are back in action. 12:45 p.m. also. Something about these times for Frankfurt, these next couple on there. 12:30, I'm sorry. That is against RB Leipzig. Leipzig, the home side here in the Trainingszentrum RB Leipzig Platz 1. This is what I'm seeing from FotMob. The match will be on DAZN. I haven't seen if it's on the YouTube link or if you access it via DAZN's website, but that's what it's showing from here. This is the second time both these teams have played each other. Leipzig were Frankfurt's first win in the Frauen Bundesliga on October the 7th. A come-from-behind win to get a 3-1 result. All the goals happened in late. Barbara Dunst in the 71st minute, a Lara Freigang penalty in the 86th minute, and then Carlotta Wamser in the 92nd. So Leipzig currently sit in 10th at 10 points, 2 wins, 4 draws, 7 losses, 14 goals scored in 13 games played, 28 goals allowed. They are 2 points clear in the race for safety. However, there is Nuremberg have been showing to get some results. Nuremberg take on Wolfsburg this weekend, so maybe Leipzig has a bit of a break there. But how are you feeling about this being the perfect bounce back after what happened on Sunday, John?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. Leipzig, obviously they had a little impressive game this past weekend, drawing 4-4 with Essen, although they were up, I believe, 3-1 in that game and led, it may have been 3-2, but they ended up being 4-4. But overall, this Leipzig side is not a very high-scoring team. I think half of their goals this year have been against Essen. Might be wrong. It might only be 6, but still.
So a significant number.
Yeah, it's a good portion. So, they haven't been able to score against most teams very well. Although they do have Mimi Larsson now from the KC Current just joining them, so that adds a little bit of attack for them. But, I think this is definitely a very good chance for Frankfurt to bounce back. Hopefully Sophia Kleinhernen will be back because she's been out the past few games. I'm not sure if it's entirely clear why, but it'd be nice to get her back in and back into a rhythm. I think Veit and Kirchberger have done all right filling in, but obviously it's nice to have our best players available. But, yeah.
How do you see this one playing out scoreline?
I'm gonna go 3-1. Give me Freigang and an Anyomi brace.
Nice. I don't see this side doing clean sheets. I would love a clean sheet. A clean sheet would be, I think, also a really good sign.
Yeah.
But it was 3-1 to the Adler in the first leg. It'll be 1-3 to the Adler in this one. I'll go Prajnikar, Dunst, and I think whether she starts or subs, Shakira Martinez.
Yeah.
I think she's been having consistent performances when given the opportunity lately. Yeah. I think that continues. Some other matchups taking place this weekend in Frauen Bundesliga. We talked about Nuremberg hosting Wolfsburg. And the second match on Saturday is Werder Bremen taking on Freiburg. That is a big, has some table implications. Also some table implications on Sunday. Bayer Leverkusen taking on Hoffenheim. Bayern take on SGS Essen. Duisburg hosts Köln. And then this is the last matchups in the Frauen Bundesliga until March 8th. So, this is a chance that, you got to get a good result here, or else you got a long time to have this linger. So we'll see. This is a good sign to see how this team and Nico will react after Wolfsburg. If they're what we think they're going to motivate and they're going to react in style. Bring that on 12:30 Friday, DAZN USA, whether on DAZN's website, which if you can register free of charge, or on YouTube. So we'll provide more details as we get closer to that. Now, now that knowing I haven't jumped the gun, now on to Sunday. After the very difficult match that we'll have in Belgium against Union Saint-Gilles, we have another difficult matchup in that 6th takes on 7th, and we get to travel to the Black Forest to take on Freiburg. The last time Frankfurt got a win in Freiburg was November of 2021, a 2-0 victory, although Freiburg got returned the favor against us in Frankfurt in April of that season. Earlier this year, a 0-0 draw played out also on one of the Thursday Sundays. Freiburg, if I am not mistaken, also have European competition, which they do on Thursday, and they have to travel to France to take on Lens.
It's a tough matchup.
Yep. Lens is in 6th, but Lens came out of a very difficult Champions League group, a team that has been really on the rise in France. So...
Yeah, I mean, they started this year pretty terribly. Actually, we're almost in relegation zone, and now they're back up to 6th. I mean, Frank Heiss, what he's done with that team has been really impressive, and Freiburg's going to be in tough on Thursday.
And when you look at Freiburg's last 5 matches, 0-0 draw to Union Berlin, 3-2 win against Hoffenheim, 3-1 loss to Bremen, a 1-3 loss to Stuttgart, and a 3-0 loss to Dortmund. Lens away, Eintracht Frankfurt at home on Sunday. That's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff. John, I feel like this is going to be, we're going to be seeing a Donny van de Beek start in this one. What else do you think we should be expecting on this one?
I wouldn't be upset or surprised if we saw maybe Bahoya get his first start in this game.
Right.
Just given, having the European match. And honestly, I mean, Freiburg, they've been, not in a good run of form here. That game against Dortmund, they looked awful in, and they didn't look good against Stuttgart. And those are tough teams to play, but even against Bremen, they didn't look great. And I think they're going to be in tough on Thursday. I think it's going to give us a real possibility in that game. Knowing Dino, I don't think we're going to get a ton of lineup change for that game. Especially with Larson still being out. But yeah, I think we could see maybe a Bahoya and definitely a start for Donny in that.
How do you see this game playing out, considering we are our run of form lately, the tight Thursday, Sunday turnaround, but playing a Freiburg team that needs something to turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to kind of depend on how we do on Thursday and what our mentality is coming out of that. I think we very easily could get a win in this game, but I think we've also shown that we need to be able to put the ball in the net more consistently or just shoot the ball on net more consistently. I think we're one of the worst sides in the Bundesliga when it comes to shots on target. So I'm not sure we've got quite what it takes to get the win out of this one. I'll go with a 1-1 draw. And give me Omar Marmoush.
I'm giving this prediction because I feel like if we get the draw or better in Belgium, I have faith that we can do that just because it's, the diva disappears on European match nights most times of the year when there's something to play for. And if we can use that as a spark for the weekend, that would mean that we respond in style. No clean sheet here. I've learned I'm not predicting a clean sheet. I'm not allowed to predict a clean sheet for at least a little bit after what happened in Köln. Freiburg get 1. I'm going to say we get 2, and I don't know if it's completely due to us on there, but I'm going to take the gamble and say we got to see what Freiburg's got to do something to turn it around. I don't think they're going to do that. Grifo for the goal for Freiburg. And Mbembe and Bahoya for Frankfurt.
Although, what's Ebembe's status? I know he was out injured this past weekend. I think he should be back, but I haven't seen anything about that recently.
Yeah, I would think if we haven't really heard anything of the alarm bells like we heard for Larson, I would think he's got to be in one of these two fixtures. So I will put the reserve hey, what happens if Mbembe's out? Knopf, just because.
Fair enough.
I think he'll roll in on there, but we'll see what happens. It is another competitive week. Just to give you a rundown of matches in the Bundesliga. 6th takes on 7th in Freiburg, Frankfurt. It starts out Friday. Köln needing points, hosting a Werder Bremen side looking to rebound from Heidenheim. Darmstadt have the unfortunate honors of hosting the 3rd place Stuttgart. Heidenheim, Leverkusen. Is Leverkusen, who also have the Thursday, Sunday? Actually, no, Leverkusen don't have the Thursday, Sunday because Leverkusen won their group.
They had the bye, so they don't get Thursday yet.
But they can't take anything for granted against the Frank Schmidt side at home. Hoffenheim, Union Berlin, Mainz, Augsburg. Mainz needs something, but Augsburg are showing that they are very difficult to beat with Jens Torup. Wolfsburg, Dortmund. This could be something for Dortmund. Dortmund back in champion. Actually, no, they are out of Champions League. That's right. They're in Champions League next week. That's what
they won the group. So somehow they won the group of death. But,
I always forget that the Champions League splits. It's not everything in one. Some is some is the other. So, the 12:30 kickoff is Leipzig, Mönchengladbach. After Freiburg, Frankfurt on Sunday is VfL Bochum, Bayern Munich at 11:30. What Bayern side are we going to see against the Bochum side that will do whatever it takes to get a point? Plus, they're at home and they've gotten some surprising results at home. We'll know more about where we stand in the race for Europe, as well as some of the other races in the Bundesliga a bit more after this match day. But that covers it all on there. John, where can people find you if they're browsing anywhere in social media?
Yeah, if you want to find me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Ben_JBen. TikTok at Jandals069 and on Instagram at JohnBen33.
And I can confirm if you haven't followed him on Twitter, follow him on Twitter because, like he said, his sports takes are spot on the money. You can find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GMComats, as well as if you're Eintracht Frankfurt Detroit at Detroit SGA. No watch parties for this one Sunday morning. I'm just hoping to be up for it, which I should be. I'm not sure if we're going anywhere for it yet, but we'll just stay in the loop with some upcoming details on some matches. But there are many ways to connect and reach out to us on the podcast. Our email, heyeintrachtfrankfurt@gmail.com. Our website, HEFpod.com, which also has all of our links to our socials, Instagram at HeyEintrachtFrankfurt, Twitter at HEFpod, which in addition to links to the episodes, details on where you can watch certain matches, we're also starting to do some more content with match day tweets, as well as Corner the Adler recaps, where you can see my mug on there. Shout out to Nathan for the comment about the Rob Probert mullet that warmed my heart. The Discord, as I talked about earlier, is 24/7. Like I said, it's a fun time. If you haven't been on there, join it, have a blast, listen to some of our hot shit takes, but it's definitely an entertaining time. And on Facebook at HEFpod. So, for those that still use that, meaning, but we thank everybody. I want to give a continued shout out to producer Nathan in St. Louis, putting everything together, especially if we, have things in the audio or you listen back to seeing how many times I bumped the couch during recording. Congrats, Brian, on the Chiefs winning. We still beat you on the first game of the season. all the best to Chris on that and everyone else. Wherever you check out this podcast, many thanks to you, as we are now, episode 303? Gets continued.
So, yep.
It continues to get better and better, folks. Despite, as much as you hear our frustrations, this is something that we love to sometimes be frustrated and talk about. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. All the best to everybody. And until next time, tschüss. There's something about those European nights. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, sha la 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 la. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, sha la 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 la.